So I'm Vladislav Butenko. I'm going to be your moderator today. And the question we're going to discuss, it's an interesting question to all of us, because we're going to discuss where is the competition between the cities today. You know, cities are competing today for what? For technologies, for knowledge, for finance, for investment, but also importantly for the residents. And the state of this competition is becoming more and more acute every year. At the same time, KSA cities, Riyadh, where we are today, they are moving very fast. And the question I would like to propose we all discuss today is how can KSA cities become the best cities in the world? Of course, they're already very, very strong, especially Riyadh and many other cities, but what does it take to become the best? What are the opportunities? So this is the question. And I would like to first ask the question to Dr. Ekaterina Shapochka from BCG. BCG has published a report called Cities of Choice. And my question to you, Ms. Ekaterina, is what is the state of competition between cities today? Who is winning? And what are the opportunities?
Thank you very much, Vladislav. I'm very honored to open this session at this amazing forum. And I really believe that the content that I'm going to present will pave the way for a very fruitful discussion. May we have the slides already, please? Let me introduce myself. I'm at BCG. I'm running the Global Center for Future of Cities. And this center was established back in 2019 to address the trends that were changing cities and regions. This center is accumulation and integration of all the best knowledge and expertise of BCG towards the development of cities and regions. And consequently, we have actually, last year, moved the headquarters of the center and the team of the center to Riyadh. We truly believe that this is where things happen now. The center produces knowledge IP research apart from working with cities. And one of the key IP or research of the center is the global ranking of cities of future. And this has been already 3 editions in a row. And the 3rd edition was published last year in March. It's called Are People Happy Where They Live? We have ranked 79 cities across the globe in all the continents. And we have ranked them across 5 different dimensions of the residents' needs. And this is very important, yeah, because we place the resident in the middle of everything that cities and regions do. And looking at this, chart, you probably, it can remind you about the Maslow pyramid. And this is on purpose because basically developing the methodology, the approach, we thought about, basic needs like economic opportunities, what people need to kind of live and thrive. So the jobs, the living standards that they need to get from the city. And then quality of life, where we measure the infrastructure and services, social capital, interactions, mutual respect, equity, equality, etc. Relationships with authorities that basically, how people can be part of what is happening in their cities and regions, and speed of change, how fast cities change for good. These 5 dimensions include 26 several sub-dimensions and 170 indicators. So indicators like, for example, give you an example, we have 15 indicators on mobility, 8 indicators on housing, and these indicators we have across 79 cities. And the depth of our knowledge is approximately 10 years for each city. So you may imagine it's a unique database. It's about 3 million data points. And within this database, 85% of data is statistics, research, reports of the cities and research organizations, and 15% are what citizens tell us, yeah? We have run a survey across all the 79 cities. 30,000 people were surveyed on different aspects. And this survey actually also gave us one insight that I'm going to talk about, that's resident advocacy. But before doing this, I also want to say that we actually don't rank all the cities in a row. We split them into 4 groups based on their income, you know, higher than average income per capita based on the World Bank, or lower. And then the second dimension for us is, of course, the size of the city. Over 10 million, less than 10 million, you know, less than 3 million, etc. So a few words about advocacy. This is a cross-cutting, let's say, a topic that we look at. And interestingly enough, we have discovered that this is something that actually defines how residents look at their cities, how loyal they are, how much they connect their future with the cities. And residence is a good proponent for several very important indicators for the cities, like entrepreneurship. It's like, you know, inflow of talents, trust to the authorities. So some leading cities already try to look at this, track this indicator, and try to develop measures how to uplift, upgrade the advocacy of their residents. I will show you the results of the ranking by these 4 groups that I have mentioned. And the first group is mega centers. So these are the large, the most powerful cities in the world. And this group is led, actually, you know, for 3 times already by London and New York. They demonstrate steady, high results. But they are followed very closely by Chinese cities. We see this here on this chart. And actually, interestingly enough, if we calculate the average score of this group, it's actually lower than all the other 3 groups that we have, yeah? It's interesting, and it tells us that, you know, these large megacities, they actually have a problem probably, a challenge that they still can't overcome. Would it be their size? Would it be policy? Would it be governance? Would it be relationships with residents? So it really requires attention.
So Ekaterina, just a quick question for the audience here. A clarification. So you're saying that the biggest cities are actually not the best in terms of how good they are for the resident, right? That is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly.
And
yeah.
why is that?
Well, I mean, we can look at it more deeply, but I believe that they do not cope with the basic problems that are caused by urbanization. Of course, they remain the magnet for people, yeah? They have the highest rate of urbanization. And this creates, you know, pressure on infrastructure, on traffic and mobility, on housing, on living space. And this definitely, you know, is reflected in the scores. So something needs to be done here to, you know, to improve this situation. If we go to the next group, it's actually smaller cities, still quite wealthy. This is probably the largest group in our ranking. They have diverse results across the pillars. They are not like, you know, unanimous and very equal. But interestingly enough, you know, first of all, this group has marginally higher scores than the first group, not much higher. And they are very good in terms of interactions with authorities. They have, this dimension is the strongest one. The next group is smaller cities, still wealthy, and they are very good in quality of life, yeah? And this is probably also the factor of their size, of their density, yeah? And also of how they actually manage themselves, how they think about residents and their wealth and their happiness. In this group specifically, we have the cities with the highest score across all the ranking. So we really need to closely watch the cities in terms of what specifically they do to get to these good results and to make their residents happy. And the last group is developing cities. They are above the average income per capita, and their size varies, yeah? But here we see that, interestingly enough, they have two strengths. One is social capital, so how people really live within the communities and how they trust each other. And the second one is the speed of change, which is very important in terms of how fast they can move to the leading examples in the ranking. So now KSA cities, yeah? KSA cities show very good results in economic opportunities. And here I have examples of 3 KSA cities that are included in our ranking. That's Riyadh, Mecca, and Jeddah, and one of the other Middle East cities, just for comparison. So economic opportunities, very strong, opportunities for business, etc. Livability, mixed results with high scores in safety and cleanliness and some other dimensions. But overall, this score could be really be higher. Yeah, this is something that I will talk about a little bit later. 3 other dimensions: social capital, quite strong, very strong. So we can build on this in terms of how we actually engage the residents more and more. Interactions with authorities, mixed results again, and can be improved. And speed of change quite high, which is actually our hope for very, very fast and positive change in these cities. Just deep dive on livability. Here we have leaders in terms of the overall ranking and livability. And here we have a very clear picture of what needs to be a focus for Middle East cities and KSA cities overall, yeah? We talk about urban environment, first of all, yeah, that's public spaces, green spaces. Entertainment services overall, yeah. Personal development, lifelong learning, these things. So I think this dashboard very clearly shows where the KSA cities need to focus to excel in terms of overall scores, global scores, and residents' expectations. Over the results of the ranking, we did a few other exercises of analysis to see, what are the overall dynamics. And we looked at different profiles, whether cities are centers of work or life, of everything. Then we have looked at specifically at pace of change and advocacy, and, who is the most future-proof. Yeah, our session is about future-proof cities, so we looked at this as well. And here, in terms of what is the profile of the city, we have plugged a few indicators to show that there are cities that are definitely positioning themselves as centers of work. Yeah? Here we see Chinese cities, Atlanta, Dubai, Dublin, and Riyadh. Yeah? Riyadh actually objectively is a good place to work, yeah, based on the indicators. There are cities that are more centers of life, like Berlin, Milan, Madrid, Copenhagen. And there are cities that actually combine the best for work and for life. We call them centers of everything. So I think that's very useful for a city to look at its profile and see, are we where we want to be, really? What we need to be to be a center of everything, for example, yeah? If this is an ambition and if this is a, right positioning. The second one, pace of change. I said already it's very important, right? And here we see that pace of change correlates with advocacy directly. Higher is pace of change. More we show to the residents positive changes in their everyday life, in the urban environment, in social sphere, more loyal they are to the city. And this is actually an interesting phenomenon, yeah? And here we see that, the highest pace of change and the highest advocacy we see in Chinese cities and some Indian cities, Asian cities, but also Riyadh, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, among the leaders of this dimension. And the last one here is actually the cities of tomorrow. Who will win tomorrow? Who will be on top of the rankings and on top of minds of all the residents where, they already live there or they want to migrate somewhere? And here we actually have plotted these cities in terms of overall performance in the rating and in terms of pace of change, how quickly they will improve in the overall ranking. And interestingly enough, Riyadh is here on top of the ranking. That's very good. Yeah, it's one of the cities of tomorrow, along with Doha, along with Chinese cities, along with Singapore, which has embedded innovation and change into everything that they do, and they are constantly exceeding the expectations of residents, investors, businesses by this. And we have a few cities to actually watch that can become contenders because they will develop, they will improve the indicators, and they will move from left to the right. So we have published an article about this in the Fast Company, which cities are the cities of tomorrow and what are the key success factors to be a city of tomorrow. So with that, I'm very happy to conclude and take any questions from the audience or from the panel.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Couple of conclusions that I was writing down for myself that I would like to share. One is, change is good. Change is good. Change is difficult, but change is good. People are coming to the cities that change. People do not like cities that don't change. Even if the city is good, but if the city doesn't change, people do not stay, people do not come. Second point, very important, the biggest cities are not the best in the value proposition to resident. And one of the reasons is their infrastructure is not coping with the size. That's good thinking, and I already anticipating our discussion here with the panelists. The third is, KSA cities today are centers of work, but they're not centers of life. How can they become centers of life? And to see what is a good center of life, don't look at the big megapolises. Look at the mid-sized cities that are best in quality of life. So these are my conclusions, and with that, let's move to the panel discussion. And my first question is to you, Engineer Musaid. Engineer Musaid, we know each other. You lead basically entire transformation, digital transformation of all of the cities in KSA. You're heading the digital transformation of MOMRA, which is the Ministry of Municipalities, Rural Affairs and Housing. What have you seen in this transformation? And importantly, how these new technologies allow Middle East cities and KSA cities to become the best? You need to press, I think.
Is it clear? Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, engineer. This is interesting study actually, and interesting paper has been shared. What is the good? My insight out of that, the paper itself, is about our cities when it comes to business, enabling the business to grow, enabling ease of doing business. We are ranked in a good shape. And that is showing the impact of the digital transformation. When we started the digital transformation of our program here in MOMRA and with our 17 city, we standardized maybe the majority of our business services and give online access for our business entrepreneurs to establish their business online with like online service index. And that impact always is being seen by deploying more than 200 services online across all cities in one digital platform. This is good. Impact is realized already with our business sectors. Now, moving to the resident and for the
because
people,
I wanted to say, Jim, you're just confirming what we saw, right?
Yeah.
Centers of work.
Yeah,
and you're saying digital technologies make it even better centers of work.
Yeah.
Where is the life?
Yeah, this is the first piece of the maybe our agile digital transformation, to start with the basic things. So the basic thing was just giving an ease of doing business, given online access, making that impact happen to our cities. This is the first topic out of the smart city or digital transformation. The second topic is about the community engagement, quality of life, how do we engage with our cities in a better way, to enrich the quality of life itself, leveraging the emerging technologies and leveraging the AI. Now we have an access to, as part of the digital transformation, we have a large set of data which will help us to reshape the future of our cities. And we are looking after one major program, we call it SMI, Smart Municipal and AI. This is a major program, it's being implemented right now. It is being deployed across cities. For example, in Jeddah, I just saw the booth of Jeddah City. They are showing a case of a smart waste management solution to enrich the quality of life when it comes to the city clean index or the city quality of life. That solution is part of the SMI program, Smart Municipal and AI, and have been deployed successfully in Jeddah, and we are rolling out that model to other cities like Riyadh and other cities. The result out of that experience or that change in Jeddah resulted cutting cost, resulted better city satisfaction about the city infrastructure itself. So we are adopting a lot of AI solutions and emerging technologies. We are implementing those changes in certain cities, then we deploy that solution to other cities. So I think, to conclude with that, leveraging the emerging tech, leveraging IoT, leveraging the data, or AI, will unlock big opportunities for our cities to become more appealing for our residents and to help us to measure that. One of the good example is about like how can we leverage like a digital twin by having like a virtual replica of a city to unlock the opportunities of urban planning, smart urban planning, smart mobility, smart city monitoring. How can we become more efficient? Adopting those solutions is a game changer, is a new way of doing business, is a new way to monitor our cities for the result of the quality of life, ease of doing business, and also to support the sustainability for our cities.
Thank you so much, Engineer Musaid. And I'm thinking, if I see the wave of technologies you're describing, I'm thinking about what happened with telecommunications over the last 20 years. I used to work in Europe. I was a consultant to European telcos, and when we were discussing, Middle East and Asian telcos, Europeans would say, yes, but, they will always be late because the fixed line penetration and the quality of fixed line connection is the best in the world in Europe. 20 years later, it happens that now the main technology of communicating is mobile. And 5G is better in Riyadh than it is in Paris.
Yeah.
Right? So do you see that something similar can happen with digital technologies, data technologies, AI, Gen AI in KSA cities, so we can overtake just because it is a new wave of technology?
Yeah.
How do you see this?
Absolutely. It is what I'm saying about the AI, the emerging tech, is a game changer in the way we manage and operate our cities. There is a lot of potentials. So the faster city or the highest impact can be leveraged by adopting those technologies and the time to market to implement those technologies. Just to give you one example, we have it in Al Qasim city for a smart inspection, let's say. The smart city, one of the major part of the smart city index is about the smart inspection or the smart inspection, let's say. Leveraging AI technology with the smart inspection, we are able to cover, to enhance our operation and the inspection by, in a shorter time with highest impact, leveraging computer vision technologies only. It is a game changer. So
and cheaper cost, right? Because you don't need as many inspectors.
Don't need many inspectors. In Al Qasim, for example, for visual pollution, previously, last year, more than 500 inspector needed only to manage to detect the visual pollution, and actually their coverage rate or the covered area of the inspection is around maybe 35%. Leveraging AI, only 5 inspectors they make full coverage of 95% of the target area. This is a game changer in one use cases for visual pollution. So if we take that just one example and replicate it to another use cases related to the citizen engagement, related to the city monitoring, related to the city planning, I trust that AI and emerging tech will have the same example that you have mentioned when it comes to telecommunication. It is a game changer. Cities will rank it very high in top of, if we say like a just competition, by adopting AI, data, and emerging tech.
Thank you. So in terms of key thoughts here, we see that digital technologies are good for business, and yes, the centers of work is going to become an even better center of work, but also on the resident side, there is community engagement tool digitally that is becoming more powerful. Technology helps quality of life, and technology even helps, managing the city, which in turn also helps quality of life. For instance, the visual pollution program that you've mentioned, it's about, a better beauty. It's about the beauty of the city, right? If the city is more beautiful, it's good for the resident, right? And you're saying that technologies allow us to reach the target of beauty, let's say, faster and cheaper.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah. I think it's amazing.
It is about informed decisions. Okay?
Exactly.
Because the mayor of the city, he wants to see what is the baseline for that visual pollution. Okay, this is a very critical point. Doing it the old way with the inspectors, with the old technologies, will not give him the feasibility about the city. Especially here in Saudi Arabia, we're talking about large geographic area. Like in Riyadh, it's a very huge area. How do you inspect? How do you see the visual pollution itself? So leveraging those technologies will give, it is about informed decision, better city visibility, and better urban planning.
Very good.
So it is about informed decision.
So thank you, and let's move to the long-term planning, because I've seen many of the plans of the cities realized, and I've seen many of the plans of some of the cities not realized. Right? We're now dreaming about these new technologies. They will all come here and transform our lives, inshallah. Inshallah, right? So I would like to turn to Dr. Khaled. You are a senior executive of a national housing company. Of course, you know the resident, because people spend most of their time in their homes, right? You know the resident well. My question to you, you worked for several decades in the kingdom, but also in GCC countries, and you also have seen plans realized and not realized. What should we watch? What do you see as big opportunities, but also what are the risks, right? Everyone knows today that the world of the future is going to be the world of big uncertainty. Very big uncertainty, bigger than before. We will see black swans. How should we deal with that?
Well, first we need to understand the vision that has been transformed to us through Hollywood pictures and imagining how the new cities will look like. It's a big, tall buildings with penetrating metros and trains. They are above the building, inside the building.
Can you speak a bit closer to the mic?
So that vision of aggressive city look like is now being changed after the COVID-19 and after the revolution in IT technology. Because now the demand on office spaces and the necessity of working inside the city or downtown the city in an office space is no longer needed. I know, and you know, a lot of companies who are now depending on employing people and encouraging them to work from home, which will reduce the demand on office spaces, hence reducing the demands on the transportation between your home and...
Very big change that we didn't plan for. 5 years ago, no one would plan for this big change.
Right. So 5 years ago, all the cities, even the GCC cities, which I've witnessed, they were competing to achieve the old picture of the tall buildings and the metros penetrating the buildings. But right now, they are actually competing on how to entertain you at home and giving you all the quality of life that you need within 5 minutes walking from your home. And that's what we really adopt and work on in NHC. We develop communities which can give you this lifestyle that you deserve. In case of you work from home, even if you want to go to your workspace, which will not be as aggressive as it used to be in the past, vision, you need to walk safely, you need to get all of your quality of life, your entertainment, your daily demands. Your daily demands now you can achieve it by call center. You don't have to go to the mall. You could do online shopping. You can do all of your requirements from Ministry of Housing and Rural Affairs online. You can get your license online. You can get all of your papers online. You don't have to go physically to the service provider and get your papers. And that will definitely reduce the transportation requirement, the density inside the city, because people used to come from the past from the suburbs to the city to finish their papers. Now they don't want to do that. They don't need, there is no need to do that. So the whole vision that we used to have 5 years ago, 10 years ago, is now changed. GCC countries, they started about 40 years ago. Some of them, they started high, and then they went a little bit stable, and then they went down. Some of the cities which you have illustrated in your presentation, they start booming. I see Riyadh, Jeddah, Dammam, and all of the Saudi cities right now, they have the opportunity to be planned properly based on the new vision and based on the quality of lifestyle and getting the advantage of the current technology in transportation, IT, AI, all of the available technology that
that's interesting because Ekaterina said at the beginning that the mega cities of Europe, especially, do not have the right infrastructure anymore, right? So it's an opportunity for KSA cities to do the first time right.
Right.
It's a design term, right? First
Design
time
from the
right
beginning,
in
yes.
terms of the new infrastructure footprint
Exactly.
and concept.
Yeah, and you have to vision what the people will need in the future. You have to think, and we have to do a lot of things, thanks to imagine what are you going to need in the future, in the near future and the far future. Because nobody was expecting to have iPhone 20 years ago. Nobody even think that my last dream, my biggest dream was just to have a phone. Hi, how are you? I'm carrying a phone on my hand, a Nokia, remember? But now nobody imagined that I can send emails, measure my heartbeats, do my memos, get a picture, all of this from one machine. Nobody even imagined that. So we have to sit and think of what are you going to need within 20 years from now to plan it from now. And it's a big opportunity for Saudi cities, actually.
And what I'm getting from these thoughts, and thank you so much for this, is again, change is good. Now in a different way, not a constant improvement, but the ability to react to an event that we haven't planned for. These events will happen. We don't know them today. Mm-hmm. We don't know them today. Some of the cities will be able to react. Some of the cities will not be able to react fast. And I would bet, KSA cities will be among those who will be able to react.
If you have proper provisions. So you always need to have provisions, and especially in the infrastructure. And that might take you to another field.
Yeah. And so with that, thank you so much. And with that, let's turn to global experience, because global cities were saying, KSA cities are going to overtake them. But today, London and New York are still, by all of these many dimensions that Ekaterina has outlined, they're better. And people like to live in New York and London. So I'd like to turn to Erlend. Erlend, you've been an architect for a couple of decades. And actually, you have worked with the best cities in the world. You work with North European cities, you work with other cities, and now you work with KSA. My question to you is, what is that in their path towards excellence? What is that the KSA cities should learn from best global cities, and what is that they should not learn? What is that they should invent themselves? What do you think?
You hear me now?
Yes, if you could move a bit closer.
I'll be closer, yeah. My height is my handicap in this situation. So yes, been very happy to work in KSA for about 5 years. We started working with NEOM. We now also work in Riyadh with Roshan, I believe, sitting next to me. I think, I mean, I live in one of these cities. I grew up in one of those comfortable cities, small, manageable, but also quite rigid. And I think, in a way, because they are small, they have been, they give it a good quality of life, but they do not have the possibilities of the future in the same way, because they do not have the tools to take on this growth, just because they're not going to expand to the same extent. So this growth which Saudi and the KSA cities are going through is also an amazing tool to enable very good quality of life. And certainly it's going to be a very different life than what we have lived before. And I think a lot of the Western cities are also going to fall behind, because they are, to a certain extent, containers for sleeping and living, and they do not go beyond that. So the city might give that.
And what prevents the European cities from changing faster?
Well, of course, you can sugarcoat them, and they have their parks, but they cannot take on the same change to the same extent, because they're not going to develop so much. So you don't have these kind of big aggregators or the big initiatives. You can, I mean, you don't have the scale of the projects to enable that huge changes. And
is this about funding, or is this about the willingness of politicians to run big projects? Because I can share an example, which is a famous example of a European city that transformed itself. In 1850, Paris was a slum. Yeah. Paris was a slum, and the amount of unsafety, disease was so high that the rich people started to leave Paris. They went to Versailles, they went to other cities, and Paris went bankrupt because they couldn't collect as much tax as they needed. And Mr. Haussmann, now you have Boulevard Haussmann in Paris, who was the prefect of this territory, for 15 years cut through with the boulevards. This is what we would call today Giga project. Mr. Haussmann became the most unpopular politician. He lost his job, and now we all remember him as one of the great people who made Paris look like it, right? So Europe used to have this power, the willpower, the funding, the people like this. Why is it Europe not having it now?
Well, I think it's a combination between that the power structures are rigid and the people are satisfied. I mean, they're catered to, they live an okay life, and why would they go through this change? I think what you see in Saudi is a great interest from the whole people to go through this change. So it's a will which is there, and it seems to be coming from everywhere. So I think, and it's interesting you talked about Paris, because I think, of course, a challenge in Saudi when you move around here is that it's hard to be a human on the streets, right? But if you look back to London in late 19th century, all of the horse maneuver in the street made it impossible to move around, and everyone thought that London would drown in just 50 years' time. But then you had the cars coming in, so soon we will have self-driving cars and transport solutions, which will take a lot of that congestion away from the streets of Riyadh. But of course, you have to combine that with the great visions and the great projects, and together those two, the technology, which I think just should support great life. I don't think we should never let technology be in the forefront. It should just give us basically a theater stage for the best magical life we can live, because I think that's what the cities of the future needs to provide for us. We don't want just a container to live in. We want to have the cities catering for us and our great everyday lives. And it's not just going to the office, it's actually everyday being magic and giving you amazing experiences, bringing the nature back, and just making it a holistic, great experience of wondering what's tomorrow. So I think that's thinking about tomorrow. It's about, like, also I think the more spiritual side of being a person, not just the technical side of things. And I think that's also something which has a resonance in the Saudi community. I think it seems to be thinking about community, family, and things beyond just growth and catering to the kind of basics in a way.
Okay, thank you. What I'm getting from this is, first of all, you said something that I will remember. You said people are satisfied, right? So you need to find the right people who are unsatisfied in a good way, right? People who want change, right? And I would better than KSA.
Create demand, create habit.
Create demand, yeah, exactly. So, and I would say in KSA, there are more people like this probably, because, I mean, people are younger here also, right? That's one. The other thing is, I would say that you're telling us we should learn from European cities, but we should not replicate. Yeah? Can we say something like this? Learn but not replicate. And then the third is, importantly, the scale of change needs to be funded, right? And clearly here, the kingdom has the opportunity, thanks God, for doing this. So these are my conclusions. Thank you so much. And let's now move to the infrastructure part. Mr. Mahmoud, you're from Daviyat, and you know everything about infrastructure, and you also know everything about who is using this infrastructure. What do you see as the opportunity in infrastructure?
Okay.
In the kingdom.
Good morning, everyone. Actually, before answering this question, I'd like to go to the beautiful.
If you could move.
I'd like to go to the beautiful presentation, the insights we all showed. I think while we even showing that slide, there are a lot of things a lot of expansion is happening in KSA. I'll take an example as of Riyadh and Neom. Neom became from nowhere, it's a remote area. And I think everybody's focusing on main city, but we're forgetting the remote area where the people should have the same quality of life in remote cities. As an infrastructure, we are from Daviyat, I think it's very important because we are smart digital infrastructure enabling all what exactly we've been talking about. Adding to my colleagues as well, I think it's all about collaboration. Now you can see here, we have somebody from technology, somebody from real estate, somebody from global entities. So I think it's really important to have a proper collaboration in order to. As a choice of city, I think safety, it is very, very important. It's not about the quality of life. And yesterday, I had a discussion with Mr. Hussein, the owner of Damak, saying that a lot of from European families moved to Dubai. And the reason behind that is the quality of life, and before that, actually, is safety. So safety first. And I think safety is really important. The huge expansion happening in KSA, I think that will give you a clear indicator that Riyadh, if not, will become the first city among the world. And the competition is really high, but today, we are enabling digital, we're enabling transformation, we're enabling quality of life, a smart home. So all this will be contained, because when you said, for example, real estate, we are in real estate, so we're talking about infrastructure. And we as Adawiyat, we have more than 170 million square meter among KSA, enabling and supporting the real estate developer in order to have the quality of life. CCTV is everywhere, so it required even in the home, quality of choice. So it's not about which kind of city, it's about country and how many cities that I have options to live in. Some people saying, okay, Riyadh, for example, Riyadh more into commercial, but what about Neom? What about Abha, for example? I think that's what exactly we need to think, and we have the same quality of life among KSA. I think one more important thing as well is the city of choice. It's in addition of safety, in addition of quality of life, I think entertainment is very important. You have different options to entertain with, and I think this is really happening in Riyadh specifically, and expanding the business everywhere. So that's the question. I think that's my answer will be, it's not about main cities, we need also to focus on remote area.
Yeah, thank you so much. And again, what we're getting from what you said is, first and foremost safety. Let's not forget that on average, European cities today are less safe than on average the Middle Eastern cities, right? It's a fact. And this is something that we should think about, right? That's an
Indeed.
opportunity
Indeed.
for KSA cities also to attract the most esteemed people, right, who care about themselves and their family. The second point is the real estate boom that we see here in the kingdom is an opportunity for infrastructure players to, again, to build the right infrastructure following the greenfield movement, which is much easier than the retrofit. The third point that I'm getting is collaboration, right? To succeed, to go fast, again, we're going to talk about speed a lot. Collaboration is important. You cannot do this in the region framework, right? So these are the conclusions. And with that, I want to move a little bit away from the infrastructure and turn to the community, right? We discussed community many times today, and we also have seen from the report that community and social capital is extremely important. People would like to feel connected to the neighborhood. People would like to feel connected to the broader neighborhood, to, you know, the radius of 5-minute walk, 15-minute walk. You know, we know this 15-minute city now going to 2-minute city, to 1-minute city. People would like to be connected. So I'd like to turn to you, Mr. Amer. You are from Roshan, and you are designing great communities. What can you share about this? What is the vision of the future KSA city from the community perspective?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. In terms of designing communities, at Roshan, what we've looked at first is trying to get the communities to be, at least while we're designing it first.
Could you please move closer to the mic? Yeah.
Is this better?
Yes, better.
So at Roshan, what we're trying to do when we started looking at designs of our communities is trying to make that design as easy and people-centric as possible. We're not looking at trying to commercialize the community, but more make it rotate around the actual people. It's all about the people, just like you said. So our main concern when it comes to these communities and the main focus that we look at in terms of how we design and how we look at and how we build these communities is the whole terminology of people-centric and interconnected lives. The whole premise is to have everything around the end user or the resident of those communities to be able to walk to places. So once we design our communities, we make sure that everything is within a 5 or 10-minute walk, be it the neighborhood community centers, the district malls, the mosques, the playground areas, the schools, all the public amenities and all the playground and open spaces are all interconnected to make sure that, one, people can go there, two, encourage wellness, so people can walk there, and three, encourage social interactions. In terms of our flagship project, for example, at Cedra, we have Roshan Front, a big retail and entertainment district. We have the Roshan Business Front as well, that's right next to it, where you have all the commercial space and all commercial offices. So in essence, that entire project becomes what you were discussing earlier, the 15, 10, 5-minute sort of community where people can live, work, play, all in the same place. Without having the need to go all about, and most importantly, making it sustainable. So making sure that we have enough EV chargers, enough connectivity with what's required for either the ACs, the solar panels, etc., for the customers to be able to connect to, and more importantly, using low carbon and pioneering all the EV chargers or the vital infrastructure for the EV chargers. So in terms of that, as we design and as we look at it, we're copying and pasting sort of that thought process, not necessarily the model or the community. We're copying and pasting it across various regions within Saudi. Yes, we look at what we can learn from cities abroad, European cities or even GCC cities, but everything that we look at, we have to look at also the Saudi culture and how it works within this culture as well. So it's not just designing for the sake of designing communities, is designing to make sure that people are going to come and live and work and play and enjoy at the end of the day.
Thank you so much. With that, I'd like to turn to the discussion, which is about how we mentioned people, we mentioned community. How will the technologies transform, not improve, but transform the way people will live, the way city will look like? We've discussed, the new scenarios. We've discussed that we need to establish a vision for the city, which is going to be different. And to answer this question and to discuss, I'd like to turn to you, Stephen. You're from the PropTech connection. You're working with the newest technologies that do not just improve the life, but really transform the way people live, transform the ways cities operate. So what do you see there?
Thank you. I think it's best to understand what the technologies are doing, and they're responding to...
Move a bit closer, yeah.
They're responding to effectively three material changes. One is that the demarcation of real estate has changed, so work from home, how you use office space, how you use retail. Number two is that people have a lot more choices now. If you look in terms of space usage in the US, for example, 62% of time is now spent in the home rather than 50%. And then the third thing I would say is from a tech perspective and how you actually utilize buildings, you've now got 6 generations of demographics using buildings for the first time ever. So what that means from a technology point of view is you need to have quite bespoke experiences for individual users. And that's a bit of a mealy way of saying people want curated experiences. And they want it to be frictionless as well. So if you look at, for example, vacancy rates in offices versus price per square meter in residential, the higher the price per square meter, the higher the vacancy rates, because people have a better experience at home. So, and then what you're finding within the tech world, and I don't want to go specifics into the tech, because, for example, in smart buildings, there's 1,250 tech servicing smart buildings. Across that, there's 80 different technology types, not solutions, like types. So it's very hard to actually identify one, but they're all aiming either at ESG, user amenities, or FM management. But from a tech point of view, it's about being able to follow patterns, I think, that have been led in the B2C world. Previously, real estate was B2B primarily, landlord-occupier. Now you've got to understand what the users of the building are doing at a much more curated level. Gender, education levels, preferences, and to do that, you need to be B2C. And that starts with data, and you can see a lot of real estate companies now, some potentially not as well as they should be, presenting themselves as technology companies, not real estate companies. But what you haven't seen yet, and I think this is where tech and real estate and experiences will go, is tech companies coming in as real estate companies. And we think that things like Vision Pro coming out, in terms of that experiential capability, also, they know you as well as any other company does in terms of your digital devices, in terms of data. It's that ability to aggregate that data and provide preferential experiences we think will lead the way. If you look at what Singapore is doing around Project Nova, Toyota are building a city where they're the aggregated owner of the city and they can control those experiences, thermal comfort, access control, giving you preferences around mobility. And I think what this means for KSA is you're actually now sitting with an amazing opportunity. You don't have to retrofit any technologies. You've got great demographics. Median age in Saudi Arabia is 29, very digitally native. And you're building everything, not everything, you're building much of the new projects from scratch. And I think being able to aggregate that, so projects like NEOM with autonomous, that move that shift to cognitive cities from smart, will actually allow a centralized person to provide those curated experiences. And I think the final thing I'll say is part of the issue when that's been done previously, whether it's through big tech companies, the FANGs, or whether it's public sector, is trust. So I think the work that we've done around autonomous, for example, is the trust is a big element of that. And I think once you get asset users or space users with trust in your data, they'll then take the offerings of what you give from that data. And the benchmark for that, we think, is Finland. So they actually have a pretty sophisticated smart city tech enabled society. And what some of that tech is doing is actually really simple. Here's a bus coming for you in 2 minutes, you should leave now. But because within Scandinavian society, there's actually quite a big trust element already, that people actually don't mind giving their data. And it's
Okay.
that bilateral movement of data which will facilitate the experiences.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. I mean, the discussion is amazing. Now, the meeting organizers are indicating that we need to move to the next. Yes, we have 4 zeros in red. So the time is over, but allow me maybe in 30 seconds to share some conclusions. First is, change is good. Change is good for Middle East and KSA cities to become the best, because the change in continuity, but also the fast change that sometimes you need to react to something we didn't expect. Build the new infrastructure of the future. There is an opportunity to rethink about infrastructure. The technology is everywhere. Technology is there to improve what is there today. Technology is there to help live better. Technology is there, as you just said, Stephen, to transform the way we live, and technology is there is to help operate, like with the digital twin. Collaboration. Collaboration is very important, because massive change cannot be done in a rigid framework. We should learn from the best cities, but not copy. And then finally, center of people. Center everything on people, because the technology should be people-centric, infrastructure should be people-centric, and the community design should be, of course, people-centric. So with that, I'd like to thank our esteemed panelists for this excellent discussion. Thank you very much for listening to us.
Thank you.